December 17th, 1944. Ardennes Forest, Belgium. Private First Class. Danny Martinez crouched in a frozen foxhole, staring at white precipitation falling from the sky with genuine confusion. The 20-year-old from San Diego had never seen snow before. He had heard about it, seen photographs, but experiencing it was entirely different. The flakes landed on his face and melted, cold and wet. They accumulated on his helmet, his rifle, his uniform. Within an hour, everything was covered in white. Martinez and his squad mates from Southern California, most of whom had also never experienced winter weather, struggled to comprehend what was happening. Their sergeant, a veteran from Wisconsin, tried to explain winter weather while simultaneously preparing defensive positions against the German offensive that had shattered American lines the previous day. The Battle of the Bulge had begun, and Martinez's unit, the 7th Armored Division, had been rushed north to help contain the breakthrough. Nobody had time to teach California boys about frostbite or how to function in sub-zero temperatures. They would learn through painful experience. The story of California soldiers encountering snow for the first time during the Battle of the Bulge reveals how America's geographic diversity created challenges during World War II. Soldiers from warm climates had no experience with winter warfare, creating vulnerabilities when deployed to frozen European battlefields. But these same soldiers brought adaptability, physical fitness, and determination. Despite initial shock, California soldiers proved as effective as their counterparts from cold weather states, demonstrating that training and determination mattered more than familiarity with snow. Southern California in the 1940s had a Mediterranean climate with mild winters. Temperatures rarely dropped below 40 degrees. Snow was something that existed in mountains, not in coastal regions where most Californians lived. Young men from Los Angeles, San Diego, and Fresno had spent entire lives in climates where outdoor activity was possible year-round. They had never shoveled snow, never experienced sub-zero temperatures, never dealt with ice. When these men were drafted and sent to training camps, most camps were in southern states. They deployed to Europe without ever experiencing genuine winter conditions. The Battle of the Bulge began on December 16th, 1944, when Germany launched a massive surprise offensive through the Ardennes Forest, attacking weakly held American positions with 25 divisions. The offensive achieved initial success through surprise and terrible weather that grounded Allied aircraft. American units were surrounded or forced into desperate retreats. Within 48 hours, German forces had penetrated up to 50 miles into American lines. The 7th Armored Division, which included Martinez and many other California soldiers, was in reserve when the offensive began. They received orders to move north immediately to defend the critical road junction at St. Vith. The men rode in open trucks through freezing temperatures and falling snow. Most lacked adequate cold weather gear. California soldiers particularly suffered because they did not recognize the danger of cold exposure. Men from northern states knew instinctively to keep moving, to avoid sitting on frozen metal, to change wet socks. California soldiers had to learn these lessons through painful experience. Martinez's first 24 hours taught him more about winter survival than any lecture could have conveyed. His feet went numb within hours of digging foxholes in frozen ground. He didn't realize this was dangerous until his sergeant noticed him walking strangely and ordered him to remove his boots. His feet were white and cold, early-stage frostbite. The sergeant forced Martinez to warm his feet gradually, warning him that if frostbite progressed, he could lose toes. Several California soldiers in the unit developed severe frostbite before anyone noticed. The division suffered more cold weather casualties in the first week than some units from northern states suffered in months. But California soldiers also demonstrated unexpected strengths. Their unfamiliarity with snow was offset by adaptability and problem-solving skills. The Battle of the Bulge was desperate improvisation where small units held critical positions against overwhelming odds. California soldiers, many from urban backgrounds, were good at improvisation. When standard procedures failed, they found alternatives. When equipment failed in cold weather, they modified it. This flexibility served them well in battles where circumstances changed hourly. The defense of St. Vith exemplified both the challenges California soldiers faced and their effectiveness despite those challenges. The town was a critical road junction controlling access to multiple routes. American commanders ordered the 7th Armored Division to hold St. Vith as long as possible, buying time for reinforcements. The division was outnumbered, surrounded on 3 sides, and fighting in the worst winter weather in decades. Snow fell continuously. Temperatures dropped below zero. Corporal James Chen from San Francisco later described the experience in interviews. The first 2 days were worst because he did not understand what was happening to his body. He was cold in a way he had never experienced, a deep, aching cold that penetrated to his bones. His hands shook so badly he could barely load his rifle. He was convinced he was dying. But on the 3rd day, he realized he was still alive and fighting. He learned techniques from experienced soldiers. He stuffed newspaper inside his uniform for insulation. He kept moving to maintain circulation. He changed socks whenever possible. These adjustments made survival possible. The German forces attacking St. Vith included veteran units with years of experience in winter warfare on the Eastern Front. They were equipped with winter uniforms and understood how to use weather to their advantage. American defenders, many experiencing their first winter and first combat simultaneously, were at a disadvantage. But American advantages in artillery support and defensive positions offset German advantages. The battle became grinding attrition that lasted 6 days. During those 6 days, California soldiers proved they could match German veterans despite unfamiliarity with winter conditions. Martinez, after his initial shock, adapted to become an effective soldier who held his position under artillery bombardment and infantry assault. The cold was constant misery, but combat created urgency that overrode discomfort. When German infantry advanced through snow-covered fields, Martinez and his squad fired methodically, dropping attackers before they reached American positions. The American withdrawal from St. Vith on December 23rd was conducted under heavy German pressure. Units disengaged while under fire, moving westward through waist-deep snow. The withdrawal was chaos, but controlled chaos that preserved most personnel and prevented the breakthrough German commanders needed. California soldiers who had never seen snow a week earlier were now veterans of winter combat. The Battle of the Bulge continued through January 1945 as American forces counterattacked to eliminate the Bulge. California soldiers participated in offensive operations that proved as difficult as initial defense. Attacking through deep snow in temperatures reaching -20 degrees was challenging, but by January, most soldiers had adapted. They understood cold weather survival, had learned to care for equipment in freezing temperatures, and knew how to fight effectively despite miserable weather. Casualty rates from cold weather injuries declined as soldiers learned what worked. Units established warming stations, rotation schedules, and supply systems that prioritized cold weather gear. California soldiers benefited from this institutional learning, but they had paid a higher initial price in frostbite during the battle's early days when their unfamiliarity with winter put them at greater risk. The performance of California soldiers challenged stereotypes about regional differences. Some commanders had assumed soldiers from harsh climates would be tougher in winter warfare, while soldiers from mild climates would be ineffective. The reality was more complex. Familiarity with cold provided initial advantages in survival skills, but adaptability, training, and leadership determined combat effectiveness more than background. California soldiers adapted quickly once they learned necessary skills. Their initial disadvantage was overcome within days. The attitudes California soldiers brought to combat also influenced effectiveness. California's culture was optimistic and confident. Young men from that environment believed problems could be solved through effort and ingenuity. When confronted with snow and cold they had never experienced, many approached it as a challenge to overcome, rather than an insurmountable obstacle. This attitude helped them adapt more quickly than soldiers who might have more experience with cold, but less optimism about overcoming challenges. The Battle of the Bulge ended in late January 1945 with complete American victory. German forces were pushed back with heavy losses. Germany's last offensive capability was destroyed. California soldiers had contributed to this victory, despite starting at severe disadvantage in winter warfare experience. They had learned quickly and fought as well as anyone. The snow that shocked them in mid-December became just another environmental factor to manage by January. The experience taught the army that soldiers from all regions could be trained to effectiveness in any environment. California soldiers couldn't believe snow when they first encountered it at the Battle of the Bulge. But despite this shock, they outfought Germans who had far more experience with winter warfare, proving that determination and adaptability mattered more than familiarity with weather conditions.